I stood in the doorway of my mother-in-law's formal dining room, staring at the perfectly set Christmas table where my name should have been. Every place setting had an elegant calligraphy card identifying the guest: Gerald, Beverly, Kyle, Vanessa, Vanessa's husband Troy, and where my seat should have been, directly across from my husband of 3 years, a card that read, Sienna, Sienna, Kyle's ex-girlfriend from college. The woman Beverly had never stopped mentioning. The woman who, according to my mother-in-law, was practically family and really should have married Kyle instead. "Oh, Natasha, you're here." Beverly swept into the dining room carrying a platter of appetizers. "I didn't hear you come in. The door was unlocked. Kyle's parking the car." I kept my voice steady. "I see you've added a guest to dinner." "Yes, Sienna's joining us this year. Isn't that lovely? She just moved back to town." "And where exactly am I sitting?" Beverly looked around the table with feigned confusion. "Oh, I thought we'd set up the folding table in the living room for overflow. You won't mind, will you? It's just that the formal table only seats 8, and with Sienna here, so I've been moved to the overflow table at my own family's Christmas dinner." "Well, it's not really your family, dear. It's Kyle's family. And Sienna has known Kyle much longer than you have." The casual cruelty stole my breath. 3 years of marriage reduced to less than an ex-girlfriend's place at the table. But I smiled because I'd been expecting something like this for weeks. "That's fine," I said. "I'll sit at the overflow table." "But Beverly, when you remove someone from the family table, you shouldn't be surprised when they remove themselves from the family permanently." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you'll find out. Enjoy dinner." I turned and walked back outside to meet Kyle. She had no idea what I'd been planning for the past 8 weeks. No idea that removing my name from Christmas dinner would result in me removing her control over her son's life. 8 weeks earlier, I was still hoping that time would win Beverly over. October 28th was the day that hope died. I'd stopped by Beverly and Gerald's house to drop off photos. I let myself in with the key Kyle kept. Walking toward the kitchen, I heard Beverly on the phone. "No, Sienna, I'm telling you it won't last. Kyle made a terrible mistake marrying her. Everyone knows it." I froze. "She's completely wrong for him," Beverly continued. "Of course I still think you two should give it another try. If that girl hadn't come along and trapped him, yes, trapped, you'd be married by now." A pause. "I'm working on it." Kyle's starting to see the cracks. I've been mentioning little things, pointing out her inadequacies. "The holidays will be perfect. I'm going to invite you to Christmas dinner. Make sure you're around as much as possible. Let Kyle remember what he lost. Trust me, by New Year's, he'll be reconsidering everything." I backed away silently. Beverly was actively working to destroy my marriage. That evening, I told Kyle. "Mom wouldn't do that," he said defensively. "You must have misunderstood." "I heard her clearly, Kyle. She's planning to invite Sienna to Christmas specifically to make you reconsider our marriage." "Natasha, you're being paranoid. Mom likes Sienna, sure, but she wouldn't try to break us up. Strong opinions are one thing. Active sabotage is another. It's not sabotage. She just takes time to warm up to people." "That's not true. She loved Troy from day one." You're exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you what I heard. Okay, maybe she said some things she shouldn't have. But she's my mother. We can't just cut her off. Can we please just get through the holidays without drama? That conversation was the turning point. Kyle's refusal to believe me confirmed I couldn't fight Beverly directly. If I wanted to save my marriage, I needed evidence. A pattern so clear, even Kyle couldn't deny it. So I started documenting everything. My first call was to Dr. Helena Wright, a family therapist specializing in toxic in-law relationships. This is textbook enmeshment, Dr. Wright said during our first session. Your mother-in-law hasn't accepted that her son has formed a primary attachment to you. She sees you as a rival. How do I fight that? You don't fight it direct. You document the behavior, establish clear boundaries, and help your husband see the patterns himself. He doesn't want to see it. That's common. Your job is to make the behavior visible in ways he can't deny. I left with a plan. Over the next 8 weeks, I meticulously documented every interaction. October 31st. Beverly invited us to Thanksgiving, mentioning that Sienna always made the most wonderful pumpkin pie, and asking if I'd attempt something simple. November 3rd. Beverly sent a group text about Christmas plans. Excluding me, Kyle said she probably just forgot. November 12th. At Kyle's birthday dinner, Beverly toasted all the people who've been in Kyle's life since childhood, listing Sienna but not me. November 25th. Thanksgiving dinner. Beverly introduced Sienna as Kyle's dear friend from college and me as Kyle's wife. With surprise, I still held that title. By early December, I had a 30-page document. Dr. Wright reviewed it. This is excellent documentation. But you need a catalyst, a moment that forces Kyle to see what's happening. Beverly's planning to invite Sienna to Christmas dinner, to seat her in my place. That could be your catalyst. If Beverly actually removes you from your rightful place at the family table, that's behavior even Kyle will have trouble explaining away. So I let her do it? You let her reveal herself, and you document how Kyle responds. His response will tell you everything you need to know about whether this marriage can survive his mother's interference. December 5th, I expanded my strategy. I needed witnesses. I met with Vanessa, Kyle's sister. What's going on? Vanessa asked. I told her everything. The overheard conversation, the systematic undermining, the Christmas plan. That's insane, Vanessa said. Mum approved of Troy immediately. It's you specifically she has a problem with. I need witnesses. When Beverly does this, I need people who'll acknowledge it's wrong. Will you do that? Of course. Troy and I will both back you up. We've been wanting to address Mom's behavior for years. There's more. I'm planning to suggest family therapy after Christmas, and I need you to support that. Family therapy with Mom? She'll never agree. She will if the alternative is losing access to her children. Vanessa, your mother's behavior is destroying my marriage. You're right. Okay, we're in. December 10th brought an unexpected ally. Gerald, Kyle's father, called me. I need to apologize to you, he said over lunch, for not speaking up sooner about Beverly's behavior toward you. I've watched it for 3 years, and I've said nothing. You've noticed? Of course I've noticed. Beverly told me yesterday that she's seating Sienna at Christmas dinner in your place. She said it like it was a done deal, and I realized I've been enabling her to treat you this way. What did you say? I told her it was inappropriate. She told me I was being oversensitive. Gerald, when this comes to a head at Christmas, will you back me up? Yes. I should have done it years ago. I'm done enabling her. December 15th, 10 days before Christmas, the email arrived. Dear family, Christmas dinner will be at our home on December 25th at 6 p.m. We're delighted to welcome Sienna Harper. Seating will be as follows. Head of table, Gerald. Opposite end, Beverly. Right side, Kyle, Sienna. Troy. Left side, Vanessa. Children. Living room overflow table, Natasha. There it was. In writing. I forwarded it to my allies. Doctor. Wright said, "This is your catalyst." Vanessa said, "This is insane." Gerald said, "This is unacceptable." And Kyle, "Mom's just trying to be inclusive of old friends. You're reading too much into the seating arrangement." That was the moment I knew. My marriage was in serious trouble. The revenge I'd been planning would need to be perfect, because it might be my last chance to save my marriage, or my first step toward ending it. I spent the next 2 days writing a 17-page letter detailing 3 years of systematic undermining. It concluded with an ultimatum: accept me as Kyle's wife or lose the relationship with her son. I showed the letter to Gerald and Vanessa. I didn't show it to Kyle. This was my fight now. December 23rd. Beverly called me. "Natasha, I wanted to confirm you received my email about Christmas seating." "I did." "Wonderful. I just wanted to make sure you understood the arrangements. I understand that you've seated Sienna at the formal table and me at overflow." "Yes, that's very clear. It's not personal, dear. It's just that the formal table only seats 8. Beverly, let me stop you there. It is personal. You made a choice to invite Kyle's ex-girlfriend to family Christmas, to seat her next to my husband in the place reserved for spouses, and to move me to another room. I don't appreciate your tone. And I don't appreciate being treated like I don't belong in my own husband's family. But here we are. If you're going to have an attitude, perhaps you shouldn't come at all. I'll be there, Beverly. Kyle and I will both be there, and we'll address the seating situation then. Christmas morning, Kyle and I exchanged gifts quietly. The tension was thick. "I'm looking forward to dinner tonight," he said. "It'll be nice to see Sienna again." "Kyle, you understand that your mother invited your ex-girlfriend and seated her next to you while moving me to another room, right? You're making this into something it's not. Sienna's just an old friend. An old friend your mother has been trying to set you up with for 3 years. I heard her explicitly telling Sienna she wanted you two back together. You misunderstood the conversation. I didn't misunderstand anything." We drove to his parents' house in silence. I was ready. We arrived at 5:50. Gerald answered the door, his eyes meeting mine. Beverly swept in, playing the gracious hostess. "Dinner will be ready in about 20 minutes. Why don't you make yourself comfortable? The overflow table is all set up in the living room. I need to see the seating arrangements," I said. Beverly's expression tightened. "Fine, come with me. We walked into the dining room. The elegant table sat with its 8 place cards exactly as described, and in the living room, a folding table with a single place card. Natasha. That was the moment Kyle finally looked uncomfortable. "Mum, this is perfectly reasonable," Beverly finished. "The formal table seats 8. Someone had to sit at overflow." "But why Natasha?" Kyle asked. "Why not one of the kids?" "Because Sienna hasn't seen us in years, and I wanted her to feel welcomed." "By seating her in my wife's place?" "Kyle, you're being dramatic." Kyle was finally seeing it. Not fully, but enough. That's when I pulled out my letter. "Beverly, I have something to read to you," I said. "It's a summary of the last 3 years of your behavior toward me. I'd like the family to hear it." "I don't think that's necessary." "I do. Kyle, Vanessa, Troy, Gerald, I need you all to hear this, because what's happening tonight isn't an isolated incident. It's the culmination of 3 years of systematic attempts to undermine my marriage." "This is ridiculous," Beverly started. "I won't be subjected to this." "Then you should have thought about that before you invited my husband's ex-girlfriend to Christmas dinner and removed me from the family table." Kyle looked torn. Vanessa and Troy settled onto the couch, supportive. Gerald nodded. I started reading. The letter detailed everything. Every comment, comparison, and exclusion. I read the October phone conversation verbatim. Beverly's explicit words about wanting to break up my marriage. Beverly interrupted, denying and deflecting. But I had dates, quotes, context, and witnesses. When I reached the section about the Christmas seating email, I projected it onto the wall. The evidence was undeniable. This isn't about a seating arrangement, I concluded. This is about respect. About accepting me as Kyle's wife. You've refused to do any of those things, Beverly, and tonight you made that refusal explicit by literally removing my name from the family table. The room was silent. Kyle looked stunned. Gerald walked over and hugged me. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Someone needed to say this." Beverly was trembling. "This is a betrayal. I've welcomed you into this family. You haven't," I interrupted. "You've actively worked against my marriage, and I have the documentation to prove every word. Kyle, are you going to let her talk to your mother this way?" This was the moment. Kyle looked at me, looked at his mother, looked at the place cards on the table, where Sienna's name sat next to his. "Mum," he said quietly, "why did you invite Sienna to Christmas dinner? She's an old family friend, Mom. Truth. Why did you invite her and seat her next to me while moving my wife to another room?" Beverly's expression shifted. "I thought you might enjoy seeing her again. Did you invite her hoping we'd reconnect?" I just thought you deserved better than." She stopped herself, but too late. "Better than Natasha?" Kyle finished. "That's what you were going to say? You did deserve better. Someone from our social circle, someone like Sienna? Yes, Sienna was perfect for you. You made a mistake, I made a mistake." Kyle's voice rose. "I made a mistake marrying the woman I love because she's not from the right social circle? You don't understand what you gave up when. What I gave up was a girlfriend from college who I wasn't compatible with. What I gained was a wife who's been patient with your hostility for 3 years. I wasn't trying to destroy Mom. I just heard 17 pages of documentation showing exactly that. Natasha's been keeping records because I wouldn't believe her, and she was right about all of it. Beverly looked at Gerald. Gerald, tell him I agree with Kyle, Gerald said. Beverly, you've been terrible to Natasha, and it needs to stop. Vanessa? Beverly turned to her daughter. I agree with Dad and Kyle, Mom. You've been awful. It's time to take responsibility. That's when the doorbell rang. That'll be Sienna, I said. She's 15 minutes early, but I expected that. How did you? I called her yesterday, explained the situation, explained that you'd invited her specifically to try to reunite her with your married son. You had no right. I had every right. I walked to the door and opened it. Sienna stood there, looking deeply uncomfortable. Natasha, I'm so sorry about this whole situation. I wouldn't have agreed to come if I'd known I know. That's why I called you. You weren't the villain here. You were just another person Beverly was using. Beverly appeared. Sienna, darling Mrs. Monroe, I'm not staying for dinner. I came to say something to you directly. There's no need, there is. You told me Kyle was unhappy in his marriage, that he'd made a mistake and was looking for a way out. None of that was true, was it? I never said. You implied it constantly. But when I talked to Kyle yesterday, he had no idea you'd been contacting me. He was horrified. Kyle stepped forward. Sienna, I'm sorry you got pulled into this. Don't apologize. Your mother's the one who should apologize. Mrs. Monroe, what you've been doing to Natasha and what you tried to do to me, that's not okay. I was only trying to help Kyle. You were trying to control him. Kyle seems happy with Natasha. You should be celebrating that. Thank you for saying that, I told Sienna. I mean it. I reviewed the texts and calls from your mother-in-law. The patterns were clear. She was cultivating me as a replacement option for Kyle. That's not Beverly started. It is, Gerald interrupted. Beverly, stop denying it. We've all heard the evidence. Beverly looked around at her family, all aligned against her. I just wanted what was best for Kyle, she said, defeated. No, Kyle said. You wanted what you wanted for Kyle. You wanted him with someone you'd chosen, someone you could control. That's not true. It is true, but Mom removing my wife's name from Christmas dinner to make room for my ex-girlfriend? There's no way to interpret that as meaning well. I thought you could manipulate the situation. And it might have worked if Natasha hadn't been documenting everything and preparing to confront you. Beverly turned to me. You planned all this. I documented your behavior and prepared to defend myself. Yes. Sienna spoke up again. I'm leaving. Mrs. Monroe, if you keep trying to interfere, you're going to lose your son entirely. After Sienna left, Gerald and Beverly retreated to the study. We heard raised voices. Kyle sat with his head in his hands. I'm sorry, he finally said. I should have believed you about all of it. Yes, you should have. I just couldn't believe my own mother would try to sabotage my marriage. It seemed impossible. It wasn't impossible. It was happening. Gerald and Beverly emerged. Beverly's eyes were red. I need to say something, Beverly started, voice unsteady. I've been inappropriate in how I've treated Natasha. It was a weak apology. Beverly, I said, instead of apologizing now, let's table this. Let's meet with a family therapist. A therapist? That's not necessary. It is necessary, Gerald said firmly. We're doing therapy, Beverly. All of us. I don't need therapy. Yes, you do, Vanessa said. Mom, what you did today, that's not normal. And I need therapy to process 3 years of being treated like an unwelcome outsider, I added. And Kyle needs therapy to understand his role in enabling your behavior. Beverly looked around. And if I refuse, then you'll lose access to your children, Kyle said quietly, but firmly. Mom, I love you, but I won't expose my wife to your hostility anymore. If you want to be part of my life going forward, you'll go to family therapy. Kyle, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Natasha is my wife. She's my priority. Vanessa? Beverly turned to her daughter. I agree with Kyle. Mom, you've bulldozed over boundaries my whole life. Therapy is how that stops. This is an ultimatum. This is a boundary, I corrected. Beverly looked at Gerald. You're part of this too? I'm telling you, I won't continue in a marriage where you manipulate our children. If you won't go to therapy, I'll move into the guest room. The shock on Beverly's face was total. Gerald, her enabler for 40 years, was drawing a line. Fine, she finally said. I'll do your therapy, but I'm doing it under protest. Your protest is noted, Gerald said, but you're still doing it. What about Christmas dinner? Beverly asked. I'm not staying, I said. I can't pretend to have a pleasant family dinner after everything that's happened today. I'm leaving too, Kyle added. We should all leave, Vanessa said. Beverly looked devastated. This is what you wanted, she said to me. You've destroyed Christmas. No, I replied calmly. You destroyed it by inviting my husband's ex-girlfriend and removing me from the family table. I just refused to participate in my own humiliation. We all left. At home, Kyle collapsed on the couch. What have I done? He said. You set a boundary. Was it though? Could we have handled this privately? And there it was. The backtracking. Kyle, your mother seated your ex-girlfriend in my place at Christmas dinner. She's been actively working to break up our marriage for 3 years. What part of that should have been handled differently? I don't know. Maybe we could have just not gone to dinner? So I should have just disappeared? Kyle, I tried less dramatic for 3 years. It didn't work. This confrontation happened because nothing else worked. I feel like I'm being forced to choose between my wife and my mother. You are being forced to choose, but your mother forced that choice, not me. I chose you. At dinner, in the moment, yes, but now you're second-guessing that choice. That's the pattern, Kyle. You defend me when her behavior is undeniable, then you backtrack. That's not fair. It's completely fair. And it's why we're going to therapy, both couples therapy and family therapy. Kyle was quiet. Fine. I'll go to therapy. Good. But I need you to understand my mother might be difficult, but she's still my mother. I can't just cut her out of my life. I'm not asking you to cut her out. I'm asking you to maintain boundaries. And Kyle, if you choose her manipulation over our marriage, if you let her back into our lives without consequences and real change, I'll leave. Understood. But as I looked at my husband, I wondered if he really did understand. December 26th, Gerald called me. We met for coffee. I need to apologize, he said. It took far too long. I should have shut down her behavior toward you years ago. You're standing up now. It's not enough. I want to explain why I've let her behavior go unchecked. Beverly gave up her social position to be with me. Her family cut her off. I felt guilty, so I let her control social aspects of our life. But that need for control grew to encompass everything. I modeled for Kyle that avoiding confrontation was the way to keep peace. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand Kyle's conditioning. It's not just about Beverly. It's about the family system I helped create. I hope Kyle proves me wrong. But be prepared for the possibility that he can't break free. What about you? I meant what I said. I'll go to family therapy, and if Beverly doesn't change, I'll move into the guest room. I'm done enabling her. January 2nd, Kyle scheduled our first couples therapy appointment. Beverly kept calling, but we held the boundary. Talk at the family therapy session on January 7th. Our first couples session was illuminating. Dr. Ramirez helped Kyle see that his dismissal of my feelings had forced me to build an evidence-based case. Kyle, you didn't intend to dismiss your wife's feelings, Dr. Ramirez said. But you did, for 3 years, and Natasha responded by documenting because that was the only way you'd take her seriously. January 7th, family therapy. Dr. Wright confronted Beverly about her behavior. Beverly, were you trying to break up your son's marriage? Yes, I was trying to break up Kyle's marriage. That admission was progress. But Beverly still struggled to take full responsibility. Over the next few months, Beverly complied with therapy, but grudgingly, Kyle and I worked on our marriage. By mid-February, I felt cautiously optimistic, but on February 18th, Beverly showed up unannounced at our apartment, violating the no-contact boundary. I let her in, and she tried to guilt me into dropping the boundaries. "You're enjoying this," she said. "I'm fighting for my marriage," I replied. "You tried to destroy it. Fair stopped being relevant when you seated your son's ex-girlfriend in my place at Christmas dinner. Kyle was angry when I told him. She used your compassion to violate the boundary. We reported at the next therapy session. Dr. Wright addressed the violation, setting stricter boundaries. No private contact outside therapy for a month. March brought a shift. Beverly started engaging more genuinely in therapy, acknowledging her patterns of manipulation. By April, we cautiously expanded contact to supervised family visits. Beverly was on her best behavior. It seemed almost normal, but then came June 8th, Kyle's birthday. A lovely dinner followed by Beverly and Gerald joining us for dessert. Afterward, I received a text from Sienna. "This is Sienna. I need to talk to you about Beverly." I called her. Beverly contacted me again. Last week, she wanted to meet for coffee. She said things had settled down, and she thought it might be a good time for Kyle and me to reconnect. I felt sick. She what? She's still trying to set us up. She called me 3 times last week. I can forward you the texts. I told Kyle in the car. He read the texts, his face paling. She's been playing us. The whole time, all the therapy, all the apologies, it's been performance. What do you want to do? I want to confront her, now. We drove to his parents' house. "When were you going to tell us you've been contacting Sienna?" Kyle demanded. Beverly tried to deny it, then claimed she reached out as a friend. You reached out to my ex-girlfriend while telling us you accept my marriage, Kyle said. You lied through months of therapy while continuing to pursue the exact behavior that caused all of this. I just thought things seemed more stable. I thought perhaps Kyle and Sienna could be friends. I don't want to be friends with Sienna, Kyle said. The only person who wants that is you, and you've been working toward it in secret. I'm done, Kyle said. Completely done. No more therapy. No more chances. You don't get to be part of my life anymore, Mum. Kyle, you don't mean that. I absolutely mean it. You tried to destroy my marriage. When that was exposed, you claimed you'd change, and all of it was performance. I'll see you at major family events only. No private contact, no phone calls, no visits. Gerald, tell him he's being unreasonable. Gerald shook his head. Beverly, I can't defend this. You promised you'd stopped. Kyle and I left. In the car, Kyle was shaking. I really thought she was changing. I wanted to believe it. I know. But she wasn't. She was just better at hiding her manipulation. Kyle maintained his boundaries with Beverly. No private contact. Beverly tried to reach out, but he didn't respond. September brought a call from Gerald. He'd given Beverly an ultimatum: genuine individual therapy or separation. She finally started actually working with her therapist, Gerald said. I think she realized she was losing everything. I've seen shifts. Do you think she's actually changing this time? I don't know, but I wanted you to know that work is happening. I appreciate that. But my relationship with her is beyond repair. October marked 1 year since I overheard Beverly's phone conversation. A year ago, I was trying to make your mother like me, I told Kyle. Now I just want her to leave us alone. Do you regret how we handled things? No. You were right about everything, Natasha. My mother was trying to destroy our marriage. I should have believed you sooner. By December, a full year since the confrontation, we received an invitation from Beverly for Christmas. We declined and spent it with my family. This is nice, Kyle said on Christmas Day, just peaceful. We received a text from Gerald. Beverly wanted me to let you know she understands why you're not attending. She's disappointed but respects your boundary. Vanessa called the next day. Mom was on good behavior. Troy thinks she might actually be changing this time. That's progress, I said. But I'm not changing my boundaries. January 2025 brought our 4th anniversary. We'd made it through. Do you think we'll make it long term? Kyle asked. I think we have a real chance. But I need to know you're as committed to maintaining boundaries as I am. I am, completely. By April 2025, life had settled. We bought a house. Beverly continued therapy and respected boundaries. By June 2025, Kyle cautiously restarted supervised contact with Beverly. Once a month, coffee meetings with Gerald present. I maintained complete distance. Spring 2026 brought a letter from Dr. Wright. Beverly wanted to apologize to me directly, with Dr. Wright mediating. No expectation of forgiveness or future relationship. I agreed, with strict conditions. April 15th. 2026. I met Beverly in Dr. Wright's office. Natasha, I owe you an apology, Beverly said. I tried to destroy your marriage. For 3 years, I systematically undermined your relationship with Kyle because I couldn't accept that he'd chosen you instead of someone I'd selected. I did all of that consciously and deliberately. The Christmas dinner seating was my final attempt. I thought if I could get Kyle and Sienna in the same space while pushing you to the margins, he might remember what he'd lost and reconsider his marriage. I knew it would hurt you. I didn't care. Even during the 6 months of therapy, I wasn't genuinely changing. Contacting Sienna in June 2024 wasn't a mistake. It was proof that I hadn't accepted your marriage. It wasn't until I lost almost everything that I finally started to do real work. I'm truly sorry, Natasha. Not sorry for getting caught, but sorry for the harm I deliberately caused you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand how much damage my behavior caused. The room was silent. Beverly, I appreciate you taking accountability, I said. That apology was more honest than anything you said during family therapy. You're right that you tried to destroy my marriage. You caused serious damage. Your apology doesn't undo that damage, but it validates that what I experienced was real. That matters. As for forgiveness, I can't offer that. What you did was too calculated. I'm glad you found healthier ways to manage your anxiety. I hope Kyle gets to have a functional relationship with his mother now, but you and I won't have a relationship. This is closure, not reconciliation. Beverly nodded, tears on her face. I accept it. Thank you for listening. I left Dr. Wright's office feeling lighter, complete. Driving home, I thought about the journey from that Christmas dinner 2.5 years ago to this moment, from being removed from the family table to removing Beverly's power over my life. The revenge I'd planned, the documentation, the confrontation, the exposure hadn't brought the satisfaction I'd expected. But it had brought something better. Peace, healing, and a marriage rebuilt on honest foundations. Beverly had tried to make me invisible. I'd made myself impossible to dismiss. And in doing so, I'd found something more valuable than revenge. I'd found my own voice, my own power, and my own peace. That was enough. That was everything.